Hi guys, and welcome to Trucking Along with Kiersey. That's me, your positive voice in trucking. Today I want to talk about this new bill that was introduced in Senate, and it's called the Promoting Women in Trucking Workforce Act. And this bill is to encourage women to come into the trucking industry. It's to promote programs, mentorships, and formal training, and to give women information about getting into the trucking industry and creating equality within the industry. So we're going to talk about that when we come back. So this is a bipartisan bill that was introduced like 2 weeks ago. I've been thinking about it, and when I first heard it, I had a really outburst type of reaction. Anybody who knows me knows I have a very strong opinion on a great deal of topics. The first thing I thought was, whenever you try to promote something, what you're saying is these people are too stupid to know that the opportunities are out there. That's how I take it. Okay? What you're saying is that women can't figure out how to get a trucking job. They can research online, and they can Google and YouTube for more tips on how to satisfy their man in bed. They can do all kinds of searches and buy magazines. Even still, they still have Cosmo out there on the shelves, and they can learn how to put makeup on and buy wigs, and they can Google 7 fashion faux pas, but they can't figure out how to Google for a job. Now, anybody that goes on to Craigslist and you type in jobs, truckers is one of the things that comes up. And it does discuss company-sponsored programs, which in my area on Craigslist, the only ones that advertised were Rail, Swift, and Sierra England. But I took offense to that when I heard it. I had a bad reaction of it on truckingtruth.com, and somebody responded to me and said, well, you misinterpreted the bill. And what I took that to mean was, see, what he's saying is I'm too stupid to read, because I read the bill. I read the actual senate.gov site. And what it says is that they want to create formal education and mentor programs to, entice women into the workforce. It also says that less than 10% of drivers are women. And that statistic is as old as 2016. It goes on to say that between 2010 and 2016, women have increased in the trucking workforce and the driver workforce, not trucking, but driver workforce, by 68%. 68% within 6 years. So they don't even know the actual number for right now, but it's been an additional 3 years. So if they were increasing at 68%, then I bet it's higher now, because I've seen a lot more women out here. Okay? So this bill wants to force the formation of a women's driver advisory board that is supposed to investigate the barriers that hold women back and to make suggestions and recommendations. What is holding women back from coming into trucking? I bet any woman out there that's listening to this knows. It's the kids. It's the family. Most drivers have to go over the road at one point in the beginning. It has to do with insurance. You're better off going over the road for a year to gain the experience to be able to get a local job if that's your goal. So basically, the number one barrier for women is the kids. The kids. What are you going to do to eliminate the barrier, which is the kids? Are we going to just shoot them, line them up and shoot them? Give me a break. Of course we're not going to do that. It's almost a disservice, and this is what I take offense to. It's a disservice to women to promote to women and not explain the realities, which is what I'm afraid is going to happen. Okay? There are a lot of harsh realities out here. One of them is that most likely you're going to be in training for months, and you may not go home very often. Okay? You have to do a year out on the road to get your experience, to be qualified for a lot of these local jobs. And the local jobs that you get, I did a video on this, okay? The local jobs you get are, number one, extremely difficult. The backing maneuvers and the just turning through smaller streets is really difficult to do when you're brand new. It's a high competition type of job where if I, with 4 years of experience of on-time delivery and 4 years safety, went for the same job of somebody getting out of CDL school, guess who's getting that job? Me, not them. There are jobs that are in high demand. Everybody wants to be home. But another issue is that when you get that local job, you're still working 14 hours a day. Promoting to women is going to be doing them a disservice if they have to go to work during the day, then go to CDL school at night. They're already going to be doing 14, 15 hours a day. They're going to have to pay somebody to watch their kids while they're in CDL school. So they're rarely going to be seeing their kids throughout that time. If they go and get a local job out of CDL school, they're still going to be working 14 hours a day, plus the commute back and forth from the terminal. Plus, it's very possible they could be running the overnight shift. And it's going to make it more difficult for them to find babysitters to babysit the kids overnight. You know, that's a really hard life. Now, let's talk about statistics. In 2016, the annual Census Bureau did an estimate of 69% of black families are made up of single mothers. 24% of white families are made up of single mothers. 45% of single mother families are living below the poverty line. So even if you pay for these people to go to school, it has to be explained to them that this is a tough job that's going to keep you away from your family. You know, even if you find a woman who's willing to say, okay, I'm going to leave my kids with my mother for months or even a year so that I can make enough money to, you know, catch up on bills or put money in the bank or be able to save up and get a better job, get a local job. Even if a woman's able to do that, what kind of stress does that put on the relationship of her and the kids? And what kind of obstacles is that going to bring up when something happens? If Johnny breaks his leg and mommy is 2,000 miles away, how is that going to be dealt with? Because a mother's reaction is going to be want to go home. It's, you know, when your kid's sick, your kid's hurt, you want to be there. And that's the way a mother should be. So, unfortunately, it's gonna come down to, does the woman want to be a trucker or does she want to be a mother? That's why when you look around out here, the majority of women that are out here are either, you know, women like me that don't have kids. And it doesn't necessarily mean they're single. There are plenty of married women I know that just don't have kids, and they either bring the husband out on the road with them every once in a while, or he might be riding as a passenger permanently. They might have it set up like, you know, the guys do. Like, all right, I'm just going to go home every once in a while. But the majority of women that I meet out here, I either are in their 40s and 50s and don't have kids, or they're in their 50s and their kids are already raised. Another thing that I think is an issue is that women are a little bit more prima donna-ish. I mean, I talk about I'm a snob, but, you know, I get greasy and dirty all the time. You know, I'm out here in the heat. I'm out here in the snow. You know, you don't always have access to bathrooms and showers and things like that. And, you know, sometimes you're sitting in a customer for hours or even a whole day and there's no bathroom. I know women who have come into trucking thinking that it was just going to be, oh, I'm going to sit here and drive and I don't have a boss and I'm going to be left alone and this is going to be so great and I hate it working in an office, and, you know, the guy in the office was always over my shoulder. And then when they got out here and they saw what it was like, that's when they said no and they went back. Because that office that has the bathroom next to them, you know, allows them to shower every morning and every night, allows them to go out to a movie when they feel like it, or go out to any restaurant when they feel like it, you know, allows you to date. I know women who have left trucking because they want to meet a man. Seriously, I had a friend just this week that she turned in her notice and said, I want to meet a man and I want to get married. And I don't want to be married to a trucker who's never going to be home. I want a real relationship that I can be with. And I said, well, why don't you just, you know, you can meet somebody and team with them. You know, I just met a really nice guy. Hi, Gary. And, you know, we've been discussing teaming. And, you know, we've been talking for 7 months or 9 months, something like that. And yes, we've seen each other, but it's been hard. It's not like, you know, in a regular relationship, you see each other every day or several times a week, or, you know, however you have it set up. And when you come into trucking, it's not like that. You can't just say, hey, I'm going to see you once a week. Sometimes it works out that way, and sometimes it doesn't. When you want to progress a relationship to the next level, you pretty much have to move in with each other, and teaming is moving in with each other. And it's harder to do that in a much smaller space in an apartment. Relationships on the road are hard. It's hard to find one. It's hard to keep one. You know, a lot of these truckers, these guys out here, they've been married like 2 and 3 times because it's hard to keep a relationship going. So, you know, when you're talking about having kids and a woman being out here and having kids, you know, it might be that those kids are resentful. You know, there was one of the drivers, and I don't remember the YouTuber, he was talking about how he was over the road for, I think, 3 years, and he finally went local, and when he came home, everything his wife and kids said to him was, well, you weren't here for 3 years. And his daughter was talking about her new boyfriend, and he was like, oh, I didn't know you have a boyfriend. Well, of course you didn't, because you were never home. And so he's been dealing with this resentment and this pushback from being away. And this is something women are going to deal with if they decide to come out here and stay for a while. So it's not something that's just going to affect their romantic relationships. It'll affect their kids' relationships. It'll affect their relationships with their kids. You know, your friendships are affected, because all you have to do to talk about when you're out here is trucking and the things that go on in your day. And then when you try to discuss that with friends and family back home, they don't care. And they don't understand either. And things are going on back home, like birthdays and holidays and anniversaries, and while you're out here, you're going to miss all those. You're going to miss them. You know, and I really think that it does a disservice to women. One of the responses I got was, women don't realize that they could be truck drivers, that they can do a man's job. I have a picture of my mom in the military from the 1950s. It's over here. Okay? Women have known for 60-something years. I have physical proof that they can do a man's job. Okay? Most people don't know this, but back in the 1800s, a woman who wasn't even eligible to vote ran for president, and her vice president was a black man. Okay? So, yes, women have been able to do a man's job for a long time. An argument that that one guy gave me was, well, women don't realize that there's automatic trucks now and that there's power steering. I call BS on that, because I absolutely don't think that anybody today that's of the younger generation even think about power steering. Okay? In my entire life, there was only one car that I ever drove that did not have power steering, and it was a 1988 Fiero. Okay? All the other cars that I ever drove all had power steering. I don't know if, do millennials even know that non-power steering vehicles existed? I don't know. You know, I could see that they might be afraid of shifting. I learned to shift on pole position when I was a kid. I know that sounds stupid, but it was an arcade game, and you had to shift it in a certain way in order to just make the race. So, you know, I call foul on that. And my generation was raised by a bunch of feminists, and I really feel like it was shoved down my throat to expect not to be equal and to expect to have to fight for equality. In 1984, I believe it was, Geraldine Ferrara ran as the Vice President of the United States. Obviously, she didn't win. The presidential candidate, Walter Mondale, didn't win. But, she didn't get in. But it was a big deal. Now think about that. I was 10 years old, and I was watching her debate. Okay? It was a big deal. Alex P. Keaton on Family Ties in the early 80s was talking about the Equal Rights Amendment, and it was a big deal. And there were college students that were all protesting about this, and it was shoved in our faces. When I was in, I think it was 6th grade. It was 7th grade when the space shuttle exploded. And that was a big deal. There was a woman going up into space, and she was a teacher. They were showing us every day for months that a woman could be an astronaut. There was a space camp in Arizona that was sending applications to our schools to bring girls in to space camp. And there was even a movie, it might have been called Space Camp. I remember Leah Thompson was one of the astronaut trainee people that was in that movie. So that was the 80s. In 7th grade, we're talking like 1987, they took all the girls from my school, not the boys, just the girls, to Lucent Technologies and New Jersey Bell Labs and to architecture firms to prove to us that we could be engineers and we could be architects. We weren't being treated equally. We were being treated special. And when I read this bill, that's the way I took it. Okay? I don't want to be treated special. I don't want to be treated with kid gloves. And I had a trainee that would constantly tell me, you know, you are so knowledgeable and you are so precise and you are so fantastic at training. You should be on some board at Prime. You know, you should be, you know, on the top operations manager panel or whatever they call it. I don't even know because I don't pay attention. He's like, that's an old boys club, and, you know, you should be out here running one of these trucking companies. You know, because, you know, tell them that they have to get some diversity and put a woman in there. And I took offense. You know why? Because I don't want to be good for a woman. I want to be good for anybody. I don't want somebody saying, damn, you're the best trucker, the woman trucker. No. I want to be the best trucker, period. Prime has like an awards gala every year for outstanding women drivers. They have a Highway Diamonds program. That's how they refer to women. To me, I don't need that to prove that I'm a female trucker. I don't need a party. I don't need a t-shirt. I'm out here doing this job every day. And I also think that on a certain level, it's exclusionary. It excludes men. And anytime you try to put a group above, then you're actually putting a group below. So I don't agree with any of the advancement of anything. Pride parades and Pride Month and all that. That seems so crazy to me, to elevate somebody or a group for the way you were born. You know, saying Black Pride, Gay Pride, White Pride, whatever, Italian Pride parades, whatever you want to, any group. That's the same to me as saying, I'm proud I was born with blue eyes. See, I have blue eyes. You know, it doesn't make any sense to me. You should be proud of your accomplishments. And unfortunately, when you wind up having different groups and different labels, it doesn't include, it excludes. That's my take on it. One of the reasons I got off of Facebook was all the divisions and people constantly trying to belittle each other and, you know, outdo each other, and every group out there is trying to say that, you know, they're more victimized than another group, and it just got so aggravating for me that I left. I just deleted my account and said, I don't feel like dealing with this crap anymore. It's too negative. I'm never going to say to anybody out there, I'm a woman, so if you're a woman, come contact me. I'll help you if you're a woman. No, that's not it. I'm going to help anybody that wants to come into trucking. The best of my ability, I will do that. I just don't see when, like, this legislation, I don't understand why people think it's necessary. Why is it necessary to promote education specifically for women? You know, and basically they're also saying women don't know the jobs are out there. That made me feel like they were saying you're too stupid to know that you could go drive a truck. You're too stupid to even think of it. That's how I took it, seriously. And when I see so many women out here, I just know that's not true. Now, the statistics are 45% of the entire workforce in the U.S. is made up of women. However, 24% of the trucking industry is made up of women. Now, they didn't actually say what they meant by that. What does the trucking industry include? Does it include truck sales, shippers, consignees, shippers and receivers, all of the in-house people in the trucking companies? So the truck stop personnel, is that considered the trucking industry? They didn't actually state to what they were referring, but that means that there are a whole heck of a lot of women out there that know that there are women truckers. Okay, anybody in the trucking industry, if they're at a customer, they're seeing people like me come in every day. If they're working at a truck stop, they're seeing people like me every day. If they're working in-house, they're talking to somebody like me every day. So they know the jobs are there, which means a lot more women know about the jobs and they don't want them. You can't force somebody to take the job. So, you know, pushing the whole women, it's doing a disservice if you don't explain the realities of the job. You know, if you tell them, well, we'll pay for CDL school, but you have to pay for the kids on your own, the daycare on your own, and, you know, CDL school is going to be fast, and they don't tell them they're going to have to still work, you know, during the day. It just seems like a disservice. So, if you have any comments on this topic and you come up with any ideas, what are some of the barriers you think that women have when trying to get into the trucking world? And does it have anything to do with the sexual harassment that's going on? Because I posted that in another video, that could be stopping women also. So like, comment, subscribe, comment below, and I hope to see you out here trucking along.